Well, we've got the new reporting we were looking for. It was Donald Trump and Pam Bondi, the Attorney General all along, who gave the order to kill off the review of the Epstein files when they were about ready to be produced to the American people back in April or May of this year. According to new reporting by Bloomberg and a Freedom of Information Act response where they got their hands on the emails and now we've seen them, the FBI, at the direction of beleaguered, embattled FBI Director Kash Patel, I'm sure soon to be shown the door, but they were working overtime under Kash Patel's direction, including 3,000 hours of overtime pay, 12-hour shifts in Virginia at a warehouse in Winchester, Virginia, comprised of FBI agents from Washington, New York, and other places trying to, quote unquote, redact the files, which is a fancy way of saying black out information that would be identifying, not just for the survivors and the victims. Oh no, it was obviously also to protect Donald Trump and to get his name out of it. How do we know that? Because there's other reporting that come May, when Pam Bondi did a full briefing of Donald Trump, she told him that his name was all over the files. And we also have recent reporting in the last week or two from David Schuster that MAGA representatives, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, who were briefed about the files and what they contain, were told that they are worse for Donald Trump than was first reported. Now we've got our hands not only on the emails between the FBI and the redaction process, but we've now got the revelation that they were about 75% or 73% complete in the phase 2 production of the FBI Epstein files when Donald Trump put a kibosh on it and killed it off. See, Donald Trump never had any intention of releasing the rest of the files after the debacle that happened and blew up in his face with the release of phase 1 through Pam Bondi. You remember the client list and everything else is sitting on my desk? He was not going to go back through that after she told him how bad the files were for him. And so now we've got the fingerprints leading directly back to Donald Trump in the cover-up of the cover-up. You're here on MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. I am traveling. It is my birthday, but it is important that we stay up to date on these types of things without blowing truth or sunshine. Big red letter date on the calendar, of course, December 19th. That's the date by order, by bill, by law, that the Epstein files in the hands of the Department of Justice and FBI, the executive branch, are supposed to be released to the American people. We know that Pam Bondi, who gave the kill order on the FBI to release the files and has got the axe out to get rid of Kash Patel. I don't know which is going to happen first, the release of the files on the 19th of December or the firing of Kash Patel. But if they fire him, it'll delay, you'll see it'll be a delay on the release. And then what happens if he violates the December 19th order that he signed? Who's going to take him to court? You know, what would be the next step if he doesn't comply? We know he'll either give himself an extension, or something like he did with the sale of TikTok. So it has no real teeth in it. It was done for political purposes to give him some sort of cover. Now we've got new FBI emails that were obtained through a Freedom of Information Act request by way of Bloomberg that show the redaction process in full swing, the training that went into the redaction process, and then how many hours were spent in that process. We had already reported it was round the clock, morning, noon, and night, 12-hour shifts, but now we know more than 3,000 hours of people power were spent doing that process. At the time that Pam Bondi told the world that the files were on her desk ready to be produced, they were about ready to be produced based on this new information we got on the FBI emails. Let's play as a reminder the email of first Donald Trump saying on the campaign trail that he would release the files. Let's play that clip first.
If you were president, would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these.
Yeah.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know it. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least
do you think that would restore trust? help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others.
9/11, yeah. JFK, I'm with you. Jeffrey Epstein, yeah. Well, why would Donald Trump be so circumspect about exposing the secrets of Jeffrey Epstein, a billionaire child sex trafficker who died in prison, without revealing which of his well-connected elite friends knew about and possibly even participated in his revolting and illegal activities?
And now let's remind everybody what Pam Bondi told the world before they tried to get the American people to buy in February or March a closeout memo. Nothing to see here, folks. There's nothing to see here in the criminal investigation related to Jeffrey Epstein. Let's play Pam Bondi in words I'm sure she'd like to take back about the files being on her desk, ready to be produced. Let's play that clip.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So a month or two after that statement, 2-page closeout memo, undated, unsigned. Nobody wanted to take credit for that from the FBI and the Department of Justice. And of course, it blew up in everybody's face. So now we move into how do we know? I want to address first what happens if the date comes and goes and Donald Trump doesn't comply. Who in the Department of Justice is going to bring this forward? It's going to have to be a lawsuit that's brought civilly by a group to gain compliance under the Freedom of Information Act, again, of the Epstein files. Now, the documents related to the exchange, the communications between the FBI and the Department of Justice, that's already the subject of a lawsuit presided over by Judge Chutkan in D.C. She ruled about 8 days ago that those documents about basically the cover-up, the conversation and the discussion needed to be produced to the American people. Now, that was 8 days ago, and we haven't seen them yet. She also ordered that communications between Donald Trump and the Epstein, those communications be released. Again, we haven't seen them yet. Now, if the 19th of December comes and goes, it's going to have to be another Freedom of Information Act request demand that's made and pursued in court. Congress isn't going to do a darn thing about it. Donald Trump's going to try to give himself a unilateral extension, and there we are. Now, there is a checklist that we reported on early on, but I want to make sure people understand. There is an exhibit list that was used in the court prosecution, in the prosecution of Epstein, about files that they were going to bring in against him before he hanged himself and died in that jail in New York. And we have our hands on that already. That would be a very good checklist against the documents that the Trump administration is going to try to convince us is the complete file. So for instance, and I'm going to put this up on Legal AF Substack, we've got things like large folders containing taped cartridges and digital evidence, which is not identified. We've got something listed as the Girl Picks Nude Book 4, a CD-ROM. We have VHS tapes, cassette tapes, micro cassette tapes, CDs, other nude and semi-nude images and video images. We've got the massage tables. We've got the frame photos, a number of frame photos. We've got the vessel ship logs going to the island. We've got hard drives, numerous hard drives. We've had an iPhone, an Apple desktop computer, an iPad, a number of iPads, a number of video recording devices, a number of large hard drives, which have yet to be identified to the public. That is at least what the Department of Justice and therefore the executive branch has had in its possession since the prosecution. Now, you may not have remembered, but Maureen Comey, James Comey's daughter, was the lead prosecutor against Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. She got the conviction, 5-count conviction against Ghislaine Maxwell for child sex trafficking. That's where she's serving her almost 20-year prison sentence. And she was prepared to go to trial against Epstein until he killed himself after the case had already been brought. That was Maureen Comey. Then fired by Donald Trump and Pam Bondi. She now has a suit she's brought for improper wrongful termination. They fired her for another reason. When they went and interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell for her pardon request and gave her immunity, Todd Blanche, the number 2 in the Department of Justice and Donald Trump's buddy, didn't want to have Maureen Comey whispering in his ear that she's lying, Ghislaine Maxwell's lying, there's an email, there's a document, there's testimony that counters what he didn't want to be bothered with any of that. He just wanted to ask her questions without having the ability to push back on any of the answers when she lied to him. So we have all that going on. Fresh start, same threat. Debt is a silent killer. It doesn't make noise. It just multiplies. Interest compounds, fees stack up, and before long, it's choking the life out of your finances. But the case isn't cold. PDS debt has already helped hundreds of thousands escape, slash what they owe, and take back control. Your way out starts now. Whether you're struggling with credit cards, personal loans, or medical bills, PDS Debt has custom options to help you get out of that debt. They go beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation and craft a personalized plan designed just for you. There's no minimum credit score required. They're here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and start putting money back where it belongs, in your pocket. PDS Debt is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, with thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and verified 5-star ratings on Trustpilot. Hundreds of thousands have been helped. Financial futures rewritten. Real proof that the right plan changes everything. Because every month you wait, that's more interest, more fees, and more pressure building. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best, right now. Don't wait for debt to strike again. Break free in 30 seconds. Get your free personalized assessment and the best option for you at pdsdebt.com/legalaf. That's pdsdebt.com/legalaf. pdsdebt.com/legalaf. But, whether we have the exhibit list and again, it demonstrates the need to redact to protect the survivors and victims. Nobody wants to see nude photos of girls that Jeffrey Epstein raped. But if in that photo, there's a person, a man, regardless of who it is, that needs to be investigated and prosecuted, okay, that's a fair game. Redact out the girl to protect her innocence and protect her identity, but not the guy. And especially if it's one Donald Trump. Now, if you think I'm kidding around about it, remember Michael Wolff, in his testimony, said that he saw, this is Michael Wolff, the journalist who was very close to Jeffrey Epstein. He came on our show, came on Legal AF, and he said he saw photos that were given to him by Jeffrey Epstein of girls, young women, sitting half naked, semi-nude on Donald Trump's lap. Let's play the clip.
Everything was amusing to Epstein. And so once we were there at his dining room table, and he brought out these snapshots, maybe a dozen of them, and they were of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump with a variety of the girls who frequented Epstein's house in Palm Beach. And there are 3 that I specifically remember, 2 of topless girls sitting on Trump's lap, 1 with a stain on the front of his pants, and the girls, and 3 or 4 girls, 5 girls, pointing at this and laughing. And I assume Epstein kept those photographs in his safe, the same safe that was raided by and emptied by the FBI after Epstein's arrests in July 2019.
So you can imagine the things that were in the safe, right, are part of the Epstein files. In fact, Ted Lieu, during his cross-examination of Kash Patel, played the clip that I just showed you and then asked Kash Patel, where's the stuff from the Epstein files? Now, Kash Patel argues that he doesn't know what anybody's talking about, that he will release. Let's watch the double talk of Kash Patel just to remind you what he said back in September when he was before Congress.
Photos showing Donald Trump with girls of an uncertain age?
No.
How do you know that?
Because that information would have been brought to light by multiple administrations and FBI investigators over the course of the last 20 years.
Well, you know what? That's just not true, because no one knew about the creepy birthday message that Donald Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein until the Wall Street Journal disclosed it, and then all of a sudden, the Epstein estate provides it to Congress.
Well,
certainly, you weren't there at the search. You don't know what Epstein may or may not have done with those photographs even prior to the search. Maybe someone has it. Maybe the Epstein estate has it.
You raise a great point.
So I'm going to ask you, have you asked to talk to Michael Wolff?
You raise a great point. I haven't personally asked to talk to Michael Wolff.
Has the FBI asked?
But the FBI, I'll get back to you if the FBI specifically
so Michael Wolff has
ever.
About 100 hours of testimony of Jeffrey Epstein. Wouldn't it be good for the FBI to interview Michael Wolff?
I'm not saying they haven't. I just don't know.
Has FBI subpoenaed the tapes that Michael Wolff has conducted of Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know.
All right. So if you could provide us an answer, that would be terrific.
Sure.
Well, let me ask you this question then. Have you looked at all the photos in Epstein files?
I have looked at all the information that the investigators who investigated this case have provided to run out credible leads.
And in the Epstein file, was there that creepy birthday message that Donald Trump had written to Epstein?
No, that's what I was trying to tell you. You raise a great point. The estate of Jeffrey Epstein has a voluminous amount of information that they have not released before.
Okay, so that's great. So wouldn't it be great if FBI subpoenaed the estate of Jeffrey Epstein for all that information?
The estate is under no obligation to provide that material, even pursuant to a subpoena. That's a great point.
Yeah, that's just false.
Okay.
That's just false. You're the frickin' FBI. You can subpoena the information from the estate, and you better do that.
So with the new FBI emails, the exhibit list, and the TikTok of counting down the days until Donald Trump likely does not comply with the bill that he signed into law, the Transparency Act, we're going to have to continue to follow it all right here at the intersection of law and politics. Thanks for being with me in MeidasTouch. Thanks for coming over to Legal AF YouTube. Hit the free subscribe button there as well as we continue to grow our pro-democracy channels together. Till my next report, I'm Michael Popak. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.